Hi, welcome. In this video, we will be painting these two sceneries with beautiful skies and mountains. So let's get started. Okay, first, I wet my paper with just water, making sure that it's not too wet. And then I add my watercolor. I'm adding ultramarine blue to cerulean blue. Make sure that your edges aren't too filled with water, because if they are too filled with water, they may form blooms, which you probably don't want. Blooms are like those patterns that are like white-ish in the inside, and then there's like some streaks of color that form like the edges. You can just wipe the excess water with paper towel or some napkin that you have. Now I'm doing the same thing on the other side. I'm just putting water on the entire page, making sure that my paper is not too wet. Then I add my watercolor. I'm adding ultramarine blue and some magenta together to form the sky. And I'm adding some violet for the land. So now I'm forming clouds, and I'm using tissue paper, and I'm just scratching out some of the colors that are still quite wet but not too wet. And I'm adding more blue to my sky because I want it to be a little bit more pigmented. I'm using ultramarine blue, cerulean, and some type of turquoise, and I'm just mixing it together. The upper part of the sky is ultramarine blue, and the lower part is more of the cerulean, if that's how you pronounce it. And now I'm just using this green. This is olive green, and I'm adding one more layer to make it a little bit more darker. You have to make sure your paper is dry to add the second layer to make it darker. Now I'm adding some ultramarine blue to my violet magenta-ish sky, and adding some ultramarine blue to my green while it's still a little bit more wet. And I'm just adding pops of violet to my green too, and it creates those blooms of color opening up like flowers. Now I'm adding a darker brown, which is burnt umber, and I'm spreading it throughout the paper over the magenta layer that's already dry. And I'm just making land. And I'm adding just a more concentrated brown, more pigmented, less water, and added it to the wet layer. Now I'm putting some violet to my clouds under the clouds to create some shadows. Now I'm creating the mountains. I just used my violet mixed with my burnt umber, and while the paper is still a little bit wet, I just added that layer on. Now I'm adding some darker mountains using burnt umber, and I added some black to it too. And now I'm putting some more of that color onto the land to create different dimensions or the illusions of space. Now I'm adding more details on my mountains, and I'm just adding more black to the side of the mountain. this part I just added some Venetian red or it kind of looks like orange. You can use orange too, but I'm just adding pops of color to make it look like I'm closer, or which it creates an illusion of space too. Just adding some detail. I'm adding some stems. I'm adding the stems of the flowers. Just making little lines all over the place below the red dots that I made earlier. You can also just dot the brown. Okay, congratulations guys, now we're done. So now it's peeling time and we're just peeling off the borders. And I hope you find this painting session with me helpful. Please give me a like if you like this video and leave a comment down below if you want. And see you on my next video. Bye guys.